Our guest who is joining me, a former presidential aspirant and convener, Yes, We Fit Revolutionary Movement, Dr. Thomas Wilson Ikubese. Thank you so much for joining us on Standpoint. Let me start by asking you what your assessment of the process of the primary has been so far, based on the information that you have at your end.
Let me thank the leadership of the APC in Ondo State for actually coming to terms with having these primary elections conducted by direct process, that's direct primary. Now, this is what we have always advocated, because before now we have indirect primary, a situation where the people who are set to be delegated, a handful of persons that represent different constituencies come to vote on behalf of the general populace in the party. But with direct primary, every member of the party is eligible to vote, and that is what I call democracy. So I would commend leadership of APC in Ondo State for adopting direct primary for this election, because that is the way to go. And I also want to wish that in the other states also, people that will have to conduct their elections in different political parties, they should also adopt this process, because that is the way to make the election participatory, and whoever emerges as the candidate for this political process will be said to have been the choice of the people, because it's not just that a couple of people came together to handpick this person, but majority of the people who came to actually get this person elected. So to that effect, I would say it's a kudos to them, and I will give them applause all the way for that.
And so if I want to get you correctly, you said that you're very satisfied with the fact that the party opted for direct primary process rather than the indirect, which, they have just some few people who will decide the representative of their party. Are you saying that allowing that 203 words participate in the process of selecting who represent them is the way to go? Is that correct?
That's the way to go. When you engage in the direct process, so long as you are a card-carrying member of the political party, it means you are eligible to vote. It means that your voice counts. It means your vote will count. It means that not that a couple of people are just out there to represent you in the name of delegate. It also makes it a bit difficult for political gladiators to corrupt the process. Because if you adopt the indirect process, you have a handful of persons who are called delegates, and like it's been done over time, you see these people being moved from one hotel to another, being induced, and oftentimes it's the vote being cast for the highest bidder. But where you have direct primary, it's done in all the wards. In this case, we have about 203 wards, and you have over 7,000 members of APC. So how many of them are you going to camp in hotels? How many of them are you going to induce? So I really wish that this could be made compulsory by the National Assembly, that the party primary for every political party in Nigeria should be by a direct process. That way, it becomes a bit more difficult for the people who are going to be voted to be coerced, as they are done where we have the case of indirect primary. So that's why I'm giving kudos to the leadership of the APC in this instance.
But then you would agree that the direct or indirect primaries also have their own pros and cons. For instance, the direct primary being adopted by the APC in Ondo State, we had 7 of the 16 aspirants who raised the alarm over the printing of fake party slips. They also faulted the recent revalidation of party members across the state, saying that most of their supporters were yet to get their party cards revalidated. So how do you think this might possibly shape the narrative of this primary going forward?
Yes, those who think they have reasons to question the validity of this process, I believe if they provide evidence to corroborate what they have said, it should be looked into by the party. And that's why I believe that this is 2024. It's good enough that I'm giving them kudos for going the way of direct primary. I also do expect that technology should have been deployed. Okay, fine, there's a good starting point, but we shouldn't stay there. What I want us to see to eventually do is a situation where we can get this thing done electronically. There is virtually anyone that came to vote for their aspirant today that does not have NIN number. So instead of having to carry the party register and then start searching for your name and then start ticking and then having to wait for party agents who came late, like you heard your reporter said that most of them came late. If it is done electronically, this is 2024. You see, when people advance this argument that, oh, this is Nigeria, oh, we can't do it, it's a sign of retrogression. It's a sign that we're not ready to move forward. But if you are ready to move forward, we should be thinking electronic. We should be thinking of people having to do this even on their phone. It's very feasible, it's very possible. Even today, banking has gone entirely online. So in as much as I'm giving kudos to the APC for adopting the direct primary, the complaint that some of the aspirants are giving at the moment would have been almost totally eliminated if it had been electronic. And I believe that since this has been adopted, eventually we'll be talking about having it conducted electronically, and sooner someday we will get there.
Yeah, so talking about electronic voting, I just want to understand where you think that actually worked, because even in some advanced economies, they had issues with the electronic voting. Are you saying that that should be adopted at the primary level as against the general election, which, a lot of people, especially in the diaspora, have actually called for?
Yeah, that's the way to go. Electronic voting is the way to go. If we want to have a credible electoral process, the way to go is electronic voting, whether at the level of the primary or at the level of the general election. That's obviously the way to go. So,
okay, Dr. Ikubese, could you hang on your thoughts? We want to quickly rush to take a break, and we'll be back in a short while. Just stay with us. Points, and we've been talking about the primary going on in Ondo State, and we spoke with our correspondent, a senior reporter, Rafiu Hamid, who spoke to us from Ondo's Akure South as regards the primary which was conducted there, saying that it was peaceful and people went about it the normal way it was expected, no rancor, no problem whatsoever. And they said the process has been concluded and waiting for the collation of the exercise and then final announcement of whoever will be the flag bearer of the party in Ondo State come November 2024. That's an interesting one. I've been speaking also, before we went on break, with one of our guests who is the former presidential aspirant and convener, Yes We Fit Revolutionary Movement, Dr. Thomas Wilson Ikubese. Thank you so much for hanging on. And we were talking about adopting electronic voting for primaries, whether direct or indirect. Direct, you actually, that's what you advocated. And I also asked you, should that be done on a national scale based on what people are asking for, especially those of us that are in the diaspora, saying that they are being disenfranchised and not being able to participate in the local voting, back in their home countries. But I asked whether this had actually worked effectively in developed economies.
You see, there is nothing you set your mind to achieve and believe in and work towards that you will not achieve if you are serious about it. All right. Now, the moment we agree that direct primaries and even having to go in the general election electronically has lots of benefit, then we start working towards it. For instance, today, while members of the APC were busy going to cast their ballot for their various aspirants, people went to work. Shops were not shut down. Activities went on. The commerce of Ondo State was not put on hold. But if it were to be in the general election, the reverse would be the case. All right? So if we adopt electronic voting, we don't have to shut down the economy every time we go to cast our ballot, because millions and billions of naira is lost. Okay? Each time we shut down the economy. Now, how about the instance of people who are not in our environment that need to cast a ballot? You cannot duplicate your NI number. You cannot duplicate your BVN number. So if you are doing it electronically, it becomes very easy. Just click on it and then it works. You can't even vote twice. So the incidence of multiple voting is eliminated. The incidence of ballot snatching that we still experienced in the last general election will be eliminated. So it's a question of saying, hey guys, this is what we want to do. Get the IT guys, the tech guys, get them to come together, and then we design a format where Nigerians can vote electronically, be it at the level of the primary election or at the level of the general election. Once we are able to do this, we realize that the incidents, all of those complaints that people give during election day, you don't even have to go and start queuing. You can do it in the comfort of your home. You can do it even if you are not in the country, if you travel, if you're in diaspora. Okay, so this is the way I think we should be thinking, and that actually is the way to go.
Well, 16 aspirants who are jostling for the ticket of the All Progressives Congress ahead of the governorship election in the state we're talking about, which is Ondo State. We have just two of them, just female, and we've been advocating the 35% affirmative action and looking at also developed economies and some other countries where we have the ladies, the women who are taking, the lead. Do you not feel that it's a shortfall of the expectations of having women to, getting into this kind of elevated positions?
Yeah, when I saw the female who put in for this contest, I was particularly elated. And I actually think we need to see more females come on board and show interest in the politics of the state, in the politics of the federation. At every stratum of government, we should have women who should come in and show interest in wanting to participate in governance. I actually believe that women could do better than men. Though some people will want to point out that we have tried some women who have done worse in terms of embezzling public funds, than men who do. But generally, women tend to be better managers of resources. So I think we need to have more of these women come. Perhaps the husbands should also encourage their wives and their daughters and getting them to participate generally in the politics of the nation. So I'll give kudos to the female that participated in this process. And of course, I wish her well. And whatever it is that the people in the party decide, that becomes the order for this particular election.
I actually have a breaking news coming to me right here. Let me just read it out, and I'd like to get your reaction to this. This is a sort of release from Ondo NUJ, who are calling for indefinite suspension of the sports commissioner, Saka Ogunleye, for attacking senior journalist who is covering the election. And it reads, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Ondo State Council, described the attack and physical assault on the senior journalist with NAN, Mr. Tayo Ikujuni, by the Ondo State Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development, Mr. Saka Yusuf Ogunleye, as barbaric and unacceptable. The Ondo State Commissioner for Youth and Sport Development had on Saturday physically assaulted a reporter with the News Agency of Nigeria during the governorship primary of the All Progressives Congress. The incident happened at about 11:45 a.m. at Ejioba High School, or Baile, the venue of Ward 9 election in Akure North local government area of Ondo State. He said he was punched, that Yusuf Ogunleye was punched, punched Ikujuni's hand, collected his cell phone and threw it away. He was alleged to have equally ordered some of his political thugs to seize a Samsung tablet phone belonging to the reporter. Immediately, the victim shouted, "Who are you?" And he said, Mr. Yusuf Ogunleye shouted, "Who are you? You are a useless journalist. You are a stupid journalist. Go away from here." These are unprintable words. What exactly do you make of this press release coming from our colleagues who are monitoring who are covering the direct primaries being held by APC in Ondo State?
All right, I sympathize with that journalist from the angle that the report has been read. There are always two sides to a story, the left, the right, and the center. I will be looking forward to getting the release from the side of Mr. Ogunleye so that we can also hear from him and then we'll be able to know where to draw the balance or what exactly happened. Yoruba is just about 2-3 minutes away from where I am here. So like I did say, we'll have to wait and listen to what he has to say from his own side. But having said that, let me quickly say this. You see, every time there is election in Nigeria, whether at the level of the primaries or at the level of the general election, we find incidences of violence. Fortunately, we haven't had too much of it in this primary election, thank God. But generally, we find these incidents of violence, of attacks, sometimes outright assassination. Now, why is it so? The reason why it is so is because our political offices are juicy. The greatest business in Nigeria today is the business of politics. And if you want to make big money, you go into politics and you make full cash without having to sweat. And that's why I advocated in 2019 when I ran for the office of the president. Then it's part of my manifesto that we should make political office less attractive. The moment we make that office, all of the political offices, less attractive, you will practically be begging people to come and run for those offices because there isn't much to it. There will be nothing to it than service. And people will say, oh, I prefer to go and do my business than wanting to run for political office because you know that when you get in there, you're not going to chop, you are going to serve. But as long as we still have our political offices, very attractive, very lucrative, people can loot, people can still look at the case of Kogi State that we just heard about, that the EFCC is after 80.2 billion, one person, 80.2 billion naira after 8 years in office. You see, so as long as we continue to have this kind of scenario, people will continue to do everything to get into office. They will continue to kill, to maim, to do everything. But having said that, like I did say, we are going to wait for the release of Mr. Ogunleye to hear his own side of the story.
Talking about the Kogi State, the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, the figure and the allegation is still in the realm of allegation, and then we'll see what actually happens, afterward. And funnily enough, the governor of Kogi State, Usman Odo, who was also chosen to head the 7-man primary election committee set up to conduct the shadow poll, he was actually the one who ensured that the direct primary of the APC in Ondo State, was actually conducted today, under his supervision. Do you not feel that, based on the role he played in ensuring that his former boss, or his boss, let me just say, evade the arrest of the EFCC, it would have the full concentration in ensuring that today's primary in Ondo State, would have been conducted, under full attention?
Well, when that incident happened, the Inspector General of Police had to withdraw the police protection from former Governor Yahaya Bello because the police protection he had also formed a kind of prevalence for him. That's why they couldn't really go in, even though His Excellency, the Governor of Kogi State, the incumbent, went in with his own operatives also and whisked him away. These are conflicts. I really would not want to draw a direct correlation between the role that His Excellency, Mr. Dodo, the Governor of Kogi State, played, in whisking Yahaya Bello away to what is going to happen today. There are different roles altogether. Here is the chairman of the primaries. Omo Agege is a secretary, and so far I would say I'm giving kudos to the fact that they eventually agreed that it should be by direct primary. But linking that with the incident of Yahaya Bello, there are two different things altogether.
Interesting. So before I let you go, how concerned do you think the people of Ondo State are, in ensuring that they select or elect the person who would definitely steer the affairs of Ondo State? Because, following the death of the former governor, Akeredolu, who was succeeded by Lucky Aiyedatiwa, who, incidentally is also running to Jocelyn to hold on to his position and then being able to govern the state ahead, of future years. Do you feel that the people are largely concerned about, whoever, takes the mantle of power, of leadership in the state? Because whoever wins this primary still has, different people to contend with, from different parties ahead of the election.
Yes, the people of Ondo State, as of today, are very, very much interested in who eventually emerges in the APC primaries, in whoever emerges in the PDP primaries and any other serious party as may come up between now and the end of the process. The reason is because the late Governor Akeredolu was an amazing leader. He did his bits before he went on. We saw what he did in relation to the birth of Amotekun and the security and the peace, that we have enjoyed up to this moment in Ondo State. So the people want to see a leader that will be as bold as him, a leader that will go out of his way to see that we have uninterrupted power supply in Ondo State. Now, Mr. President had signed the electoral power bill into law, a leader that will be able to say, okay, I'm bringing in Siemens, I'm bringing in General Electric, and I want to see uninterrupted power supply in Ondo State, through gas turbine, through alternative power source, and the people can key in and businesses can run. A leader that will continue on the security architecture that has been put in place, a leader that will exhibit transparency, and we say this is what comes into the state every month, this is how we expend it, a leader that will not compromise the state of affairs of the state for party membership. The people of the state want to see that leader that eventually will emerge from all of this process across the political parties and in the general election that can come out and develop the state, move it forward beyond where late Akeredolu has left it. So the people are very much interested. I can tell you they're just waiting for APC to bring his candidate, PDP to bring his candidate, and then we sit down and look at which of them is coming up with something on the table. This is not a time that you will just come and dance on the podium and sing, and then you expect people to vote for you. People want to see what you are bringing to the table, and I believe this election will be a game changer for the state.
So finally, in that wise, what exactly do you want the people of Ondo State to look out for in such candidates? What exactly are the things that they need to pay attention to in selecting them?
Well, what they need to pay attention to is the manifesto of the candidate, eventually that will emerge from the political parties across board, all right? Now, we have talked about zoning, that this is going to the southern region. Okay, that's fine. But whoever it is that emerges, what are the manifestos? What are the things this person is coming to do? Interestingly, when you ask all political gladiators, those who want to run for office, what do you intend to do? They will tell you a gamut of items, but subject them to scrutiny. How are you going to implement this? And that's where the confusion comes. So I'm looking forward to that debate. We were supposed to have one a few days ago. I think the public holidays coincided with that, and it didn't. But we wanted to find out from each of these aspirants, what would you want to do and how would you be able to do it? So this way, the people will be able to know who exactly to cast their ballots for.
That's right. That's a very convenient place to leave this conversation. Former President, Aspirant, and convener, Yes We Fit Revolutionary Movement, Dr. Thomas Wilson Ikubese. Thank you so much for your keenness of insight on this issue. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And stay with us here on Standpoint.